Because at that point in time, we were threatened to be
we
thrown
got
out.
threatened
They
like
said
at
we
least
they said
3
if
times
you are
already.
not paying now, we are going to close you down and forever, and that's it.
And yeah, they did close down a lot of shops, and then those shops kind of find certain amount of money and stuff like that. And we actually got closed down one time as well.
Yeah.
We did actually get closed down, but there was one specific situation where she actually got so upset. That was the most upset I've ever seen mommy in a very, very long time. Do you remember what I'm talking about? When we were sitting and they approached us for the rent as well, and then the lady said, you remember now?
I should eat less?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that was incredible, because I said at least we need to buy our own food a bit too, and so we cannot just, I mean, I have to eat before I even can pay you guys rent. I'm very, very sorry. I apologized profusely to her, and then she looked at me and said, well, I guess then you have to eat less.
Hey my lovelies, it's your girl Mel. Welcome back to my channel, and we are here with mommy. So I already know say it's another story time with mommy. Story time with mommy. A long time we not do that, people. This is the first story time of 2023. And before we start, we explained this on the live video already, but for the people who have not seen that live video, basically we're coming to the end of, you know, our sequence story time of mom being in Jamaica, because we're at year 2021 already. And she asked you guys, and you guys, you know, were commenting and stuff, and she asked you if you would be interested in hearing of her life stories before she ever stepped foot in Jamaica. So basically her youthful story.
The first 27 years.
The first 27 years. And many of you said yes, so that's what we're going to basically be doing after this, where she's just going to have her random stories. It's not going to be in a sequence, more than likely.
My childhood?
Yeah. Are you going to put...
I will try to put it in a sequence. I will try.
But it might happen that there are going to be like random stories of other times that she remembers, even from Jamaica. That might
we
drop
are going
in.
to find some more content
That might drop in and stuff like that. So basically, don't set your foot on having a sequence anymore. Just to make it clear to everyone. But basically, yeah, that is going to be the next step. So, you know, after the whole Jamaican story time, it's going to switch into mommy younger days, before she even had us. You know, the kids aren't involved anymore.
Well,
partially.
For the past 5 years, not you.
I'm definitely not involved.
Me too.
Yeah, so it's just the two boys. So, alright, but we're going to get into the story time right now. So we are in the year 2021.
Yeah, hi Mel's lovelies. It has been a while. So, well, the year 2021. We finished the last story time basically with the end of 2020. And as you might recall, 2020 brought us COVID. And 2020 brought me Melody back home through COVID. So that is, thank you COVID for that. That's about the only reason why I would like to thank COVID. Otherwise it has been a real hard time for all of us, I guess. So by the end of 2020, Richie did ask if he could come back home basically, and we agreed. I mean, we had a long talk, and we set up some, not really rules, but we said, okay, this and this has to be followed. And then I said, okay, fine, because of course after all those years I missed him as well, and the love was still there. And so we just said, okay, let's try again.
Just a reminder for the people who don't remember, since the last story time was so long ago, you put out Richie
in February 2020.
Yeah.
After one of his alcoholic really nasty bouts, I told him that he had to leave the house because I couldn't stand it any longer. And he left the house and became sober very fast. Actually, the first 2 months or so we weren't in contact at all because, like I said, I was so fed up. Then we got back into contact, and I found out that he started to be completely sober, didn't drink alcohol anymore. And then throughout the next few months, but actually what happened, our washing machine was didn't work at the time, and where he was living at the time, he had a washing machine, so he would agree to help us wash the laundry, and so I would see him frequently, you know, just through that, because I was grateful that I got my laundry washed, because you know how it go in our household. If your washing machine doesn't work, and mine couldn't be fixed at the time because I couldn't get the parts and stuff, and then we would have to go to a laundromat, and that costs a lot of money and a lot of time and this and that. So I was so grateful that he agreed to do that for us, and therefore I would see him frequently. And every time I saw him, he was sober. I mean, not even an inkling of alcohol in his system. So by the end of 2020, when we had this discussion now, I was actually thinking this would be a wonderful opportunity if he came back home now, that we could rekindle our relationship and build on it, and have hopefully a good life from then on. Because I mean, as I was saying, the feelings between us were still very strong and there. Our love never ceased, ever. But to the circumstances, it was impossible for me to have him around any longer. So by actually 1st of January 2023, he moved back in.
21. You said 23.
Oh, 21. I'm sorry, 21. Of course. Well, yeah, I'm on 23 now, of course. No, 21, of course. He moved back in. And actually, he had arrangements with some family members, and so they would send him a bit of money for his rent that he was supposed to be paid before. And he said to me, okay, I want you to get that money now, because I would like to pay for my own, and I would feel more comfortable, he said, that if he paid for his stay in the house. So I said, hey, wonderful, because COVID had licked us down financially pretty much, so that would be a big help as well. And so he moved back in, and our life kind of fell back in our normal pattern, that how it used to be, because you know, when you're together for a long time, you have your certain ways of dealing with your daily chores, your life, your whatever. He would take up again to do the shopping for the shop. He would take up some duties around the house that he used to share with me, and so it was a pretty easy way to ease back in our daily routine. Especially seeing again as COVID had taken its toll on us, because with all the curfews and which were enforced even more in 2021. 2020 was kind of loosely still, only that the flights were completely cancelled from Jamaica or to Jamaica. So actually from it was basically April 2020, we wouldn't have any tourists anymore on the island. None at all, because nobody could fly in. And we had quite a few people actually got stuck at that time, and then they had some special flights for people who needed to get out, to fly them out. I mean, it was kind of dramatic to a degree. And we were completely cut off from the rest of the world. And not that my business was really relying on tourists so much, but a lot of people in Jamaica live off tourism. So if no tourists no come, all the people who work in the tourism sector, they didn't have money anymore. I mean, hotels would close down, hotels would let off people for the time being. A lot of people lost their work throughout the time, and that the general population just had less money, a lot less money. And a restaurant like mine, I mean, we make pizza mostly, right? We make some European style food. Now, that would be luxury for people. It's not like you go and buy your little cheap box food in some cook shop. No, our place is a restaurant. You come to a restaurant, or you have some takeout pizza. Yes, but pizza prices in Jamaica are not that cheap, because to get the ingredients, most of them have to be imported. You do not get anything like the cheese we need, the tomato paste and some other stuff. You cannot get that in Jamaica unless it gets imported. And of course, it will show in the price. So our pizza is not extremely expensive, but it is more expensive than a box food. Now, if people don't have any income too much, how they are going to afford that? So it came back directly to our business, our sales. As I mentioned already in the last video, from the first day practically that COVID was announced in Jamaica, my sales fell to 25% of the usual sales. And of course that is incredible, because at the same time I still have to pay my electricity bill. I still have, because I can't lock off my fridges and my freezer only because I can't have sales, because the goods need to be cooled. Yes, we would have less usage of the oven and stuff, so we would have some less electricity bill, but not enough. So the rent would still be up, and basically our landlord, which is the municipal corporation in Jamaica, they did make an offer after a few months, and they said, okay, we will let off 25% of the rent if your rent is up to date, and no, 40% if your rent is up to date, and 25% if not. But by the time when they announced that, I wasn't able to pay rent for 2 months already. I was always on time, always up to date, every time. I never missed one single month of my rent. But as the sales fell rapidly, I wasn't able to pay the rent for the first 2 months of that time. So I only got the 25% benefit. What we found out, we have an association at the village, and what the association found out, that basically all craft markets and all places like ours were severely impacted by the COVID, because I mean craft markets generally along the island, and our restaurant is in the Port Antonio Craft Village, live off tourism. No tourists, no sales. So
because no Jamaican is buying souvenirs and stuff.
Exactly.
Like that, so.
I mean, they have that at their house. They have that already. They don't need it. So basically, especially this sector of Jamaican businesses was really suffering tremendously at the time. And us being in the craft village, we felt it as well. So we found out, so because we said, wow, we need some more help than just the 25% off the rent, because I mean, no income, how to pay, you know? So we started to apply to different government entities, the Tourist Board, the TPD, which is a Tourist Product Enhancement Corporation. We said, guys, what can we do? What assistance can we get? How might you be able to help us? Because we are unable, absolutely unable to pay rent. And then we found out that the craft markets throughout the island, they are kind of separated. There is some of them, or a good amount of them, are under the umbrella of the UDC, which is the Urban Development Corporation, and the rest were under the umbrella of the municipal corporations throughout the island. Now we were municipal, and we found out that the UDC, after a good while, after some months, because everybody was trying to get some help from the government, agreed to let their craft markets be rent-free for 1 year. And for us it was like, yes, that would be it. That would save us completely and totally. So we applied for the same thing now to our municipal corporations. They stayed adamant. They said, no, 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 you can't get that. We are not doing that. You get your 25%, that's it. So we were really, really, really desperate. And by the time, beginning of 21, actually, I hadn't paid rent then for 9 months already. And every month they came and said, do you have money, do you have money? I said, no, 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 I'm sorry. And then they threatened to close us down. And then they, I mean, they were kind of understanding, yes, I'm not saying no. But basically what would have saved us, the non-payment of rent for a year, they were not willing to agree. And we sat down and with other, even other presidents of associations from other craft villages, and we applied. We went up to even the Ministry of Local Government, which is basically the highest ministry under the Prime Minister. We applied to so many people, writing over and over. We had meetings with the municipal corporation in the village, in their offices, meetings over meetings, and trying and trying and trying. They stayed adamant. No, we can't do that, and we it's like taxpayer this and blah blah that, and they have so many other things to pay off. So we were really, really in a bind, and that went way into 2021. I mean, we tried for practically over a year, everything possible.
And just as a reminder as well, to show you that because we've mentioned it before, that we basically had to let go of our staff as well.
Yeah, that too.
So we had to let go our chefs and waitresses and stuff, because basically Mommy, Mayumi and me took over completely. Yep. Because we definitely weren't able to find the funds to pay any staff. Yep. So we were already there cutting back on, you know, everything. Expenses. So to show you that it was really, really serious. Yeah. Like, no staff pay, you know, that was seized because we weren't getting paid directly. We would just get food so that we could survive, and that was it. We didn't have any form of extra money or anything like that. And then, yeah, just wanted to throw that in to keep into consideration as well, with, you know, having to try and find the rent money, the light bill, water bill, and telephone, stuff like that, telephone and all of that
and
stuff.
For our home as well.
Yes, and
you know, it was places we had to finance. We
had rent at home as well to pay and stuff like that, and light bill and water bill still continues and stuff. So just to keep that into consideration.
So we had to scrape together every cent every month, and I mean, my sons would help me out sometimes for the house side, because they saw that we wouldn't even know what to eat that evening maybe. So they would send their money here and there to help out, and we were really trying to operate as cost effective as possible. So it was a real rough time, definitely, and this was like, sometimes we were really desperate, very desperate. And not only we, I mean, imagine our main business is as of 6 o'clock in the evening, mostly nowadays. Not nowadays, from ever we are in that craft village. Before we had a different schedule when we were in the farmy buildings for some reason, but at that, since we are there, you could say from 6 o'clock in the evening going up to 9, 10 o'clock on weekends, even sometimes later. The government of Jamaica imposed curfews that started at 6 o'clock in the evening. That meant we had to be home at 6 o'clock. Not close the business 6 o'clock, you know, we had to be home at 6 o'clock. That means we had to close from 5. Because our staff at the time, when we had it still, they had to reach home as well. When we alone were working, we would work maybe until shortly before 6 and then just leave out. But it didn't help, because the majority of our business would take place in the hours that we had to close.
And seeing that it was like, you know, dinner time, people would rather than just stay home
Right.
and get their dinner instead
They
of,
would come for pizza.
you know, coming for pizza and trying to rush home. And like,
Yeah.
it was just not, you know, a nice environment.
No,
basically.
because even at that closing time, now people who would stop to work at certain time wouldn't even have the time again to get
Yeah.
pizza from us.
Because they are stopped working at the same time as well.
Exactly. So it was a real rough situation.
Because the 9 to 5 people were still working 9
Yeah.
to 5.
Exactly.
They didn't get an hour
Exactly.
earlier off or
Uh-huh.
anything. They were still 9 to 5. And then by the time they leave work, they can only catch one taxi and go home.
Exactly.
So there's no time to stop anywhere.
Plus, too, what happened as well is like the holidays now. Easter. Even our August, 6th of August, the Independence Day, the Emancipation Day, Christmas. We were ordered to stay home in 2020 and in 2021. We were, like, I remember Easter 21, we were not allowed to leave the house the entire Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. 4 days.
4
we were
days.
not allowed to leave the house. There were
Complete
police
lockdown.
patrols all over the place on a constant basis. There were only like necessity workers, like essential workers, like hospital personnel. All of them, they got a special, if you want, license or permit that they could continue to operate. There were some taxi drivers, they were allowed so people could go and come from work. And it's like, it was crazy. I mean, we were, and those days, of course, would have been our main earning days. Because every holiday, our business would make good sales. So it was like we were sitting here and you know, you feel completely helpless, hopeless, because you have no idea. First of all, nobody thought it would take that long with the COVID. We said, oh well, in the beginning, yeah, will be a few weeks and then everything is over. And then it dragged on and it got worse apparently and worse. And we had these cars driving through the roads always announcing, oh, the COVID this and COVID that, and you have to wear a mask and you have to do this and and then the curfew times and the actions that were taken within radio stations, TV stations, and so on. You would believe that at least half of the population was infected. And at one point in time, because at that point in time, I didn't know anybody around me who had COVID. Not one. I mean, none of my family members, none of my friends, none of our customers, basically, that would still come within the data. So we would ask, how is your family? We are okay, you know. But then the whole action that was behind it was so much contrary that I said, but wait, where are all these COVID people then? You know? Yes, they were there. I'm not saying no, I'm not denying it. But the extent that was portrayed to us was by far
they were trying
not
to put
reality.
fear into people anyways.
They put in fear into people, exactly, especially when the vaccination came out. Now that was, yeah, you have to get vaccinated, come, and everybody's supposed to come now, and they would have again cars running through the streets and propagate for vaccination and it was free, of course, for everybody. So it's like, come, what keeps you from getting it? And then everything will get back to normal very soon and so on and so on. And the interesting part is, Jamaicans are very stubborn. And as far as I know, up to this time, I mean, we are talking now 2 years after, and I don't know, when did the vaccination come out again? That was sometimes by the end of 2020, I think. It wasn't right away.
I don't
We
know.
had there to develop it first. But it was, I think, by the end of 2020. From until now, and after all this propagation for it, actually it's only a quarter or 25% of the Jamaican population who took the vaccination. 75% said, no, not me. And I found that very interesting, you know, because I mean, you would think that after all this fear mongering and fear making, and after all this manipulation of the people that a lot of more people would be willing to do so. And I was like, wow, respect Jamaicans, you have your own mind, thank you, you know. Because at the same time, if you take Germany, for example, by now, I think it's over 90% of the German population got vaccinated.
Well, they were kind of more forced.
They were very much more forced than in Jamaica. That's for sure. Very much more.
Because they did like rules like, oh, if you're not vaccinated, then you have to do a test
every day before to go to work. And the test costs money.
Yeah,
it's not that it was free.
They charge money to do the tests and stuff.
That happened to Nikki over in Germany.
It was basically way more forced onto them, because they're saying if you don't do that, then basically you're going to lose your job and then you're going to suffer. Right? So, yeah, it was, I don't know. It was just a whole different world for sure. And, yeah, crazy. But that vaccination thing is a whole different topic anyways, because I know many of our subscribers are, you know, have different thoughts on it. So I don't want to get any deeper into it, because we don't need to go there.
No, not really. But I mean, still the whole problematic was still there, and it couldn't be solved at the time. So it was a really, really, really hard time. As I was saying, we tried our best to get some relief from the government. At one point in time, even people came from the government to the village and told everybody there, so here you can apply for some relief money. I think it was 40,000 Jamaican dollar once. You can apply for it, and they brought somebody. She was sitting there with her laptop.
Oh, for businesses is what, 40,000? Because wasn't it something with 10,000?
No, 40,000 wax for the business.
Oh.
So basically, all the craft vendors in our craft village sat down with her and did that application and tried it. And I was considering it, and I said, nah, 40,000. What can 40,000 do for me personally? To be honest, nothing much, because that would barely pay my electricity and telephone bill. You know, it would have helped maybe, but I decided not to.
It wasn't just that, though, because there were like stipulations that you would have to sign.
Yeah, some of the stipulations were
sign
hard.
up for some pharmacy.
Oh yeah, with the people. Yeah, would register this and register that. Exactly.
All sort of stuff. So it wasn't just the money situation.
True, and then the registration part that we would have to register with the tourist board, but then they gave us some papers that would not apply to our business, because it was strictly for craft vendors.
Yeah.
And I looked at the paper and said, but I can't fill out this. I'm not a craft vendor. I'm a restaurant. So although we are in the craft village, then please rectify the paper and give me something that I can sign. Because what you want me to do here, this was strictly for craft vendors. And I said, but that doesn't make sense, right? So I couldn't do that, yeah, and therefore I couldn't apply neither, yeah. And what happened though, like I said, we have 18 craft shops in the village, and would you believe none of the 18 got assent?
Didn't one person get?
No, that was in the other market.
Oh.
Not one single person got that relief pay, although everybody applied. So I said, well, might as well that I didn't apply, because the result is the same. So that was one little time we would have gotten a little help from the government, which never worked out, because what happened, they had gotten some money, I think, from abroad, and they distributed that way, but there were so many applications that the money was finished in no time. That's why they couldn't even pay it out anymore, because it was just finished. And all these things coming together, we were really, really, really desperate. I mean, it was an awful time, trust me. And to go ahead in that year a bit, we had one mom story time.
Well,
was it mom story time? It was, right?
Yeah. Well, before we go to that though, it ties into the story time, which basically created a shift for us in our situation. But basically after a few months, you know, mommy being the person that she is, and so soft-hearted, and you know, thinking about everyone and stuff, she basically, because 2 of our staff had a child, and she was like,
were fiance, so
well, they were together at the time. They weren't fiancés.
They were together at the time.
So mommy's like, you know, if we are struggling like this and stuff, imagine them. They actually have a small little child that is not going to school, because school was basically, you know, out. It was like online classes and stuff. So the child is at home the whole time. They might have to go try find food for the picnic and stuff like that. So mommy got soft-hearted again and basically brought in those 2 people only.
Yeah, and on not even full time.
Not full time. It wasn't like the regular schedule. It was like half of what they would get before, but at least they would still end up making something, so that they could buy
because I met them and I said, did you guys find anything in the meantime? Do you get a job or something? How are you surviving? And they said, no, we didn't find anything because no work, no there right now, and they were pretty desperate. Yeah.
So she did that, right? Even though me and Mayumi were like, mommy, we can't even survive right now. How do you want to have extra expense again to pay other people? My mommy's like, no, I have to do it and stuff like that. So then it was like around that time that we were telling a story time, and you know, I spoke about, like, I mentioned how mommy is that type of person and stuff. I don't know in what relation it came up again, but I was saying like, oh, you know, telling her that I appreciate how she is and she should never change her ways and stuff like that, even though it annoys me sometimes. But I know it comes from a good place and she's actually doing good with it. But basically the reached this whole crying story time, you know, tears coming down and stuff like that, and you guys heard of what we were speaking of and the struggles that we were going through at the moment and stuff like that. And you know, you as our subscribers then kind of stepped in and were, you know,
not kind of,
well, not kind of, but you guys stepped up
big
and
time.
Said, hey, we are willing to help you guys. So at that point we got like a lot of donations and stuff to put towards the rent. There was one specific person as well that contacted us through an email, and she helped us tremendously, because she basically just asked what else is left for the rest of the, like, how much do you owe still, and she basically gave us the rest of the sum right then and there.
Because at that point in time we were threatened to be thrown out.
Threatened like at least 3 times
said, if you are
already.
not paying now, we are going to close you down and forever, and that's it.
Yeah,
you know, and we were really in a huge bind, because no matter what, at least we used to earn a bit of money still through that place, and we could pay our basic costs still. So if they had closed us down for non-paying of the rent, which they had the right to do, we were owing, then we would have really been completely out of funds, completely, the entire family.
And as well, some of you might think, but you guys had the YouTube channel. That was like in the time when the YouTube was like just taking off, so it wasn't like, you know, steady as yet like that, where it was enough to, you know, cover everything. It could cover a small,
it did help,
yeah,
definitely.
It helped for sure with certain stuff, but it couldn't cover anything outside of the house basically, and not even the house alone it could cover. So no. it was helping, you know, it was helping for sure. But yeah, you guys definitely, you know, were our saviors in that period of time.
Absolutely.
And you guys actually helped us to, you know, get that, you know, pressure off of
the pressure
having them coming to us every Friday. Oh, if you don't pay, we're going to close down your shop. Every Friday they would come.
Every Friday.
If you don't pay, we're going to close down your shop. Just threatening us, and then, you know, that was just a whole bunch of stress. And then just thinking about the fact that if the business is gone, then we definitely can't cover the cost of anything.
Yeah.
And there was one specific situation as well. I don't think mommy remember or has thought of it, but there was one specific situation where she actually got so upset. That was the most upset I've ever seen mommy in a very, very long time. Do you remember what I'm talking about? When we were sitting and they approached us for the rent as well, and you were explaining to them again, say, hey, look, if there's no income coming in, how do you guys expect us to basically find funds to pay you guys? Like, where are we supposed to draw it from and stuff like that? And then the lady said, you remember, no?
I should eat less.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that was incredible, because I said at least we need to buy our own food a bit too, and so we cannot just, I mean, I have to eat before I even can pay you guys rent. I'm very, very sorry. I apologized profusely to her, and then she looked at me and said, well, I guess then you have to eat less. And I was like,
imagine a government worker that is getting paid.
They were paid throughout the entire time. They didn't lose a cent.
Irregardless of what is going on, whatever curfew, they still were getting paid. And she literally looked at mommy and said, maybe you should eat less food.
And may I mention too, that by that time we had eaten a lot less, and I had lost about 20 pounds already, just through the stress of the situation and everything. I had lost a lot of weight already, and we were actually eating less already. So eating even less than less would have brought us to eating nothing anymore. So when I heard her saying, I got really
mommy blew up. Like, that was the first time I saw mommy blew up like that. And it became a whole little thing where that lady, basically from that point on, she didn't come back
to the village.
She didn't come back to the village. I don't know, like, basically from that point on,
because we made it public as well. I mean, I told everybody about that situation. I said, look what the woman tell me. Look what she said to me. Government tell me, you know, because she was a government representative.
So basically, yeah, somebody else started taking over that type of stuff, but you know, it was just like the same thing. Like, no, they didn't say anything like that anymore to us, but they still came every Friday and said, oh, if you don't pay, we're going to close down. The amount of time we're here, say, oh, we're going to close you down, going to close you down. One shop, actually, they did end up closing down. Well, multiple shops.
Multiple, yeah, but they found the money somehow. Some of them.
Yeah, a lot of shops actually, because they always gave you like a deadline and say, oh, all right, by, say we're in January now, they say like by mid-February or end of February.
They gave us longer than that, like till March, end of March or so. Still. Them time?
Remember, they gave us more than one deadline, you know. And
yeah, but I mean, it was
wasn't always early.
No,
like it wasn't. They didn't always tell you early, you know.
Yeah, that's the point.
That's what I'm trying to say.
We got a letter with the deadline, and we got the letter with the deadline that was written a month before, and we got it only then, and then it was like 2 weeks later the deadline was up. Yeah. And it was like, why you give us a letter so late?
That's what
That's ridiculous. You know? Yeah, that's true. That was the part.
And yeah, they did close down a lot of shops, and then those shops kind of find certain amount of money and stuff like that. And we actually got closed down one time as well.
Yeah.
We did actually get closed down, and they said, oh, we were in Germany at the time, and Mayumi was the only one that was here. And you had to pay like half of the money that was owed by that point.
Yep.
So that was before we got the rest of the donations, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was before we even got the big donation and stuff. So, mommy, we were in Germany. We had to try and find and scrape together to pay them half of the money so we could open back the restaurant. Because, you know, Mayumi being here and us being in Germany, because we had to take care of some business in Germany.
In order to survive as well.
And Mayumi was basically left down here, and she definitely now have no other income than the restaurant, basically. So, you know, we had to open up back, because if we did close it down, Mayumi would have nil. And Calais was born already.
And not only that, I mean, the bills would continue.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, but I'm
Of
just
course,
saying.
and our house bills would continue, so we had to find a way to get the place open up so at least we could earn a minimum of money.
So basically, I don't remember how, but we ended up scraping up some money together. And do you remember the amount it was that we paid? That
$150,000.
$150,000 we end up scraping
Jamaican
together.
dollars.
Jamaican dollars. Which is probably about close to
1,000 US.
more than that.
Yeah, more than that. Yeah, that time it was more. Yeah.
Yeah, like.
Well, actually, we
Way
borrowed
more
money
than-
all over the place. We tried to talk to people. We tried to get something here, something there, and we got that. Yeah.
So then she went and paid it, but wasn't there something else again?
They gave us this stipulation after that every month we would have to be practically double rent. The rent for the months that was due plus the outstanding rent.
So even though they said, all right, if you pay half of the money that is owed by,
we will
open you up
but-
back, and then at first it was then we will open back the restaurant and it will be good. But then she went and paid it and stuff, and then they popped out this stipulation of, oh, we will basically only open it up back if you agree to paying the normal monthly rent,
which
plus
we weren't able to pay all the time before already.
that's why the backup, but plus the backup rent. So we would basically have to pay 2 months rent in
per
1
month, and at a time when we couldn't afford to even pay any rent.
When then don't realize already, say, all right, then people are not paying us, that's why we have to close them down.
And I looked at
And
them and said, do you think I don't pay because they stipulated that, or they kind of said, oh, you people choose to not pay rent. And I said, we choose to not pay rent? No, it is not there. We do not have the money. That is not a question of choice here. It is what is transpiring. We cannot afford the rent. Simple as that. And you guys as a government should support us more, so we can find a solution that is feasible for everybody. So when they gave us a stipulation about the 2 months rent as of then for the next 6 months, we were like, how on earth are we going to do that?
And curfews were still in effect at that point. That Christmas wasn't active neither, I think.
No, we were closed.
And like all of that stuff there. So they really made it worse than it should have been, in my opinion, especially since it was a government entity that was our landlord. If it was like a regular landlord, I could more understand, because maybe they would depend,
a mortgage on it,
they
or
would
something,
depend on it a bit more.
Yeah.
But it was a government entity, so they could definitely have give us,
And
or not be that
I
harsh
had
with
to
it.
pay my own electricity, my own water, my own telephone, so none of those costs would be on the municipal corporation. I merely occupied the place.
Yeah.
So I would not cost them any money.
Yeah, we personally, our restaurant, because
Other places were running
other-
on their electricity bill, on their water bill, but not us.
Yeah.
We were independent.
We were
completely.
independent when it came on to the water and the electricity, and we made sure that we still kind of paid those, because otherwise they would turn it off within, if it's not paid, they turn it off immediately, basically. So we were literally, the only thing that we would have had to give them is the rent to occupy the place, and them not paying no mortgage on that place. They're not paying anything for that place. It's literally been there, standing there for years before we even got into it. It was empty because nobody was using it, and they took it over, and basically they don't have any expenses from us personally, right? From the other vendors, yeah, because they had a complete electricity bill with all the other 18 craft shops and stuff like that.
Even the other restaurant.
And the other restaurant and the water bill was all running together for them and stuff. So I could understand that they would have, you know, bills that would pile up every month with those people, but we were literally independent of them. The only thing we had for them was the
occupation
rent
of the place.
Yes, so occupying the one little spot on the entire craft village. But anyways, you know, they gave us hell and stress out mommy a lot in that time. And not just mommy, but you know, everybody. And as I said, they closed down quite a few shops. Even our friend was closed down for how long?
A year.
She was literally closed down for a year.
And
the restaurant
right
in the middle
us is closed now since what, 1.5 years about?
The restaurant in the middle of us is closed down. Yeah, probably 1.5 years by now. Because it's the same situation, like they can't pay for the
and of course they charge them rent, although they are closed.
Even now,
so it makes it even more impossible for them to pay.
So their bill is just piling up more and more and more and more and more. It probably reached out 400,000 by now.
Which for 400,000? They are near $1 million now.
Oh, wow.
Which 400,000?
Okay, close to $1 million.
When we had ours, they were close to 500,000 already,
true.
And that is a year ago almost.
That's true.
Over a year ago.
That's true.
More than a year ago.
So they have a whole thing going on at the moment. And yeah, basically that is pretty much it that happened to us.
So when you guys chipped in and sent us all those donations, you have no idea. Up to this day, the feeling that I got about the solidarity of people that I don't even know. I mean, we never met any of you, we never saw any of you, we got some comments maybe, and then this generosity of all of you. And when I realized the money that was sent could cover the rest of the rent that was owed, that meant we were out of this huge pressure that we had over our heads for the previous year. You have no idea. Up to this day, I'm grateful to the maximum for that. And I want whoever is here now and listening, who gave us something at that point in time, thank you again. I will never forget that. It really literally saved our asses. And we got to pay them off. Up to now we are up to date with the rent, because I mean the curfews were loosened up a bit over the past year and stuff, so we are in no debt right now, thanks to you guys.
Yes. So that is pretty much the update for that period of time. You know, you have seen other vlogs and stuff that happened actually in that period of time, because remember the robbery happened, but we did a video on that already. So basically a lot of stuff that kind of happened in that time, you guys already got an insight into it, because at the same time I was already doing the YouTube vlogs and stuff like that. So yeah, I think the next story time is going to be the first one of your youth.
No, we still have one more with Richie, basically, with the alcohol stuff again.
Okay.
For that year.
Okay. So I guess.
And then just to finish the thing with the COVID, I downloaded an app.
Mommy, you tell them about it 1,000,001 times.
I did already, so then forget it. Forget it.
The numbers, right?
Yeah, because it didn't make sense.
No, but you tell them
up to this day it doesn't make sense.
You tell them
alright, she said I did tell it already, let it be there.
Yes.
Alright guys.
Mommy's a numbers personal, but you've heard it plenty of time already. Trust me, you've heard it in story time, you heard it on lives, you heard it already.
Okay.
So.
Alrighty then.
Alright guys, so this is it for today's story time. Thank you guys so much for checking it out. And you know, mom story time will still continue for every Thursday, so that is going to be a thing that we will have going on. The other videos will be posted randomly, so just keep an eye out. I will try and announce most of them as best as I can beforehand, so you can get a little heads up. But big up on yourself. Blessings, everybody. Please stay healthy, look out for each other, and I will see you guys in my next video.
Yes.
Bye.